All right, you guys. So I'm going to be answering all of your questions about my Dexcom on this episode, and all your questions came in through the Instagrams. So the first question, first of all, if you guys don't know what a Dexcom is, it's a continuous glucose monitor that measures the glucose in your blood straight to your phone. It's kind of awesome. So, really great for just staying on top of the betas. I'm so grateful for it. All right. So, first question is from Amanda underscore Chitengu. I'm so sorry, Amanda. I probably butchered your name. So, I apologize. But Amanda asks, do you get sensor errors a lot and how do you avoid them? This is funny because, typically I don't get sensor errors that often, but I've had a few in the last day or two. So this was a few days ago, but it's just funny that this question is coming up right now because yes, I have just had a sensor error, but I don't typically get them with Dexcom. But I got one a few days ago. It was like one or under 24 hours before I was supposed to change it, but I've been resetting it. So right when I got the sensor error, I waited usually the company tells you to wait like 3 hours. So I waited and it was still giving me the error. And so I just restarted the sensor and it was working perfectly. I don't really know why it does that sometimes. If you know why, I would love to know. But that happened. And then today it went into a sensor error for a split second, but I was like, you know what? I'm just going to change it because I'm almost going on like 15 days or something. So I was like, you know what, just gonna change it because I didn't feel like waiting around and I want to work out and I don't want to be like, is my blood sugar am I gonna be able to see it or not? So yeah, that just happened. But to answer your question, Amanda, with Dexcom, I typically don't get sensor errors. And if I ever do, it's usually an easy fix. Like either it'll come back or I'll just restart the sensor and it usually works. Next question is from mchai underscore, and she says, favorite and least favorite place to wear your Dexcom. So I guess I have three favorite spots. I used to love to wear my Dex on my abs, but I was having this issue where I would put it there and then it just wasn't allowing me to restart it for whatever reason. I also love putting it on my arm, literally just right here is where I put it, just in the fattiest part there. But I haven't put it there because I guess just when I'm sweating and for whatever reason, maybe because my arms are more exposed, typically that it just starts peeling off. And I'll even put on the skin grip is what I typically use. But I'll reinforce it with something and it still kind of peels off a little bit. But when I put it on my stomach, it just stays in place. I don't even have to use any sort of extra tape, but I will show you right now, right now I am loving right here. This is what is it, my back or my hip? So that is where I've been putting it lately. And I love that spot because it allows me to restart it. I always get restart and reset confused, but I can restart it successfully. And usually when I do that, it lasts between 15 and 20 days total. So that's where I've been loving it, on my hip or my love handle. Whatever area back there has the most what is wrong with me? I can't even say that word right now. Subcutaneous fat. So that is what I'm really digging right now. Next question is from Carly Rowe. How do you restart your sensor? This is a really good question. It's actually a question that's been coming up so much, and I'm going to link to it below in the notes, in the show notes, but I think it's episode 73. So that episode walks you through step by step my process to restarting my Dexcom G6 sensor. It's the Firefly one, so it's like the newest transmitter that you get. So be sure to check out that episode. I will not go into it in detail right here because it's a little bit long, but inside of that episode, if you're wondering how to restart your sensor, you're gonna have all the steps in there. Radalina_N, again, apologies if I mispronounce that. Would you replace your Dexcom for a Libre? Why or why not? So the Freestyle Libre, I think that's it. So no, I wouldn't. And I think I tried the Libre once, and it was before I even was wanting to get a CGM. And I went to see my endocrinologist. It's really like hot and sweaty in here. You can't, if you were sitting right next to me right now, you'd be like, oh my God, we need a fan or something. So apologies. But I tried the Libre because my doctor at the time, it was like my first appointment with her. And so her and the diabetes educator wanted to just have a week-long graph of like my blood sugars. So I was like, sure, I'll wear the continuous glucose monitor just because then they could really see what was going on instead of me just bringing in my glucometer or in my notes of like all my numbers, right? Super old school. But so I wore it, and it only lasted, I think, 5 days because I had it on my arm and I was leaning against my couch and it like bent the sensor and it fell off, and I was like, oops. But that's the only time I ever tried the Libre. And I did do a little bit of research because I was like, what is the difference between the two for real? Because I love Dexcom so much. It's helped me so much. And there's nothing aside from 1 or 2 times. Well, actually last year I went through this period where the customer service was really frustrating for me, but I haven't had any issues with customer service lately, and I've had such great success with using Dexcom that there's no reason to switch. Like, why fix something that's not broken, right? So I wouldn't switch, but what I did find out, just one thing that I was like, that's kind of interesting with the Libre. It said that you could actually turn off, and I don't know if this is true, so don't quote me on this, but I think you can turn off the low alert feature, which is kind of awesome because with the Dexcom, you can turn off the high alert and you can turn off the lows except when it gets to, I think it's like 52 milligrams per deciliter, which I don't know off the top of my head. I think that might be it, like a 2 or something, 2 millimoles per millimoles per liter. I'll have to double check that. But 50, I think it's around like 52 milligrams per deciliter. Anyways, the story being, when your blood sugar hits a certain point, you cannot turn off that low feature. The alarm scares the shit out of me. I'll be laying in bed, and I know that the alarm feature is something that has helped so many people. So it makes sense why they have that feature, but ever since I was little, I've woken up in the middle of the night. It's like my body just naturally wakes me up when my blood sugar is low, and I can feel lows coming on like an hour before they hit. And so to me, that feature has just not been ideal. But that's the only thing that I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Otherwise, no, I wouldn't switch. I love Dexcom. Dexcom just if you use a tandem insulin pump too, how it integrates with the pump, where there's the basal IQ and the control IQ. Haven't used the control IQ yet, but when I get back to the United States, my brand new pump will be sitting there waiting for me, because for those of you who don't know, my insulin pump broke like a couple weeks after I arrived in Costa Rica, and then the border closed. So I've been here it's going to be like 7 months or so. But when I get home, I'll be able to try the basal IQ, which basically your continuous glucose monitor will read to your insulin pump, and then your insulin pump will automatically give you a correction or suspend your basal when your blood sugar is dropping or going up, which I think is super awesome. It's like just the closest thing you can get to an artificial pancreas from what I know so far. So that's cool. And Dexcom has been so great. I love how, I don't know with the Libre if you do you have to scan your arm every time you want to see your sugars? I don't know if that's a thing or if that used to be a thing, but with Dexcom, it's like, I'll just look at my phone. It's so easy. So yeah, no, I would not change. And then Shandy Dandy says favorite spot. So yeah, my arm, my hip, my love handle area, or, sometimes my abs, but just lately right now when this episode is being recorded on what's the date today? August 31st, 2020, I love my hip or my love handle. And it's kind of like my upper love handle. So like into my back, but just in that fatty tissue there. And Jen Hulbert actually sent in a question. I was going to say request, but she was wondering because I'm loving the spot right here on my love handle for my sensor. And she was wanting me to show how I take out the transmitter, because taking out the transmitter is how I restart the sensor. So if you want to know how to restart your sensors, check out episode, I think it's 72 or 73. I'm going to link to it in the show notes, but and it's a step-by-step process, but how you do it is you take out the transmitter, and I show you exactly how I do it inside the episode. But she was wondering, when I do use the placement on my back, if I could show how I take out the transmitter, because it's a really challenging angle. So that's a great idea, Jen, and I will do that. So if you guys haven't subscribed yet, be sure to hit that subscribe button, because at some point I'll make sure to put out a video so that you guys can see exactly how awkward it is and how I do it, so that you can do it as well. I think that is all the cues that we've got today, but thank you so much for tuning in. I hope these answers to your most burning Dexcom questions, I hope that you were able to take some info away from them. And if you have a question about Dexcom, or if you're sitting on the fence, if you're like, I want to get a continuous glucose monitor, and maybe you're trying to figure out, is Dexcom for you? Should you do it? Should you not? I'm going to open a book. So feel free to just send me a DM on Instagram. Let me know your questions. I'm happy to give you all of the advice that has helped me personally, and what I love about it, what I don't, whatever you want to know, so that I can just help you make that decision for yourself. Because I know it can be kind of like a challenging thing, right? Just should you not? That's how I was anyways. And when I did order my Dexcom for the first time, this was in 2017, or maybe it was almost 2018, I think. So I haven't even had it that long. But when I got it, I sat on it for a year. So maybe I ordered it in 2016, but I was so just not ready to make my disease visible to the world, and getting a Dexcom I just wasn't ready to do it. And so it sat at the pharmacy for a year before I picked it up, before I was like, okay, I'm ready to do this. So if you're having any hesitation, or you just have questions about it, feel free to ask me. I'll link to my Instagram in the show notes, but at Taja Cato, I'd love to connect with you. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll talk to you very soon. Bye for now.